σας πω πραγματικά ότι έχω εντυπωσιαστεί από τρία πράγματα. Το πρώτο πράγμα είναι η εξαιρετική οργάνωση, η πάρα πολύ ωραία αίθουσα, η πάρα πολύ όμορφη χώρη. Το δεύτερο είναι με την υπομονή σας, που μια Κυριακή μεσημέρι τόσο αργά και με χωρίς πολλά διαλύματα έχετε παραμείνει και παρακολουθείτε, με πολύ ενδιαφέρον, και αυτό λέει πάρα πολλά για το επίπεδο της ημερίδας. Και το τρίτο, το οποίο με έχει πραγματικά εντυπωσιάσει, είναι οι εισηγήσεις, ο διεπιστημονικός της χαρακτήρας και το πολύ υψηλό επίπεδο των εισηγητών, τους οποίους πραγματικά ευχαριστώ και για την συμμετοχή τους στην ημερίδα. Έχουμε στο πρόγραμμα αυτή τη στιγμή τον κύριο Μπουρμά που κάθεται δεξιά μου και ο οποίος πρέπει να μιλήσει, δεν πρόλαβε να μιλήσει στο προηγούμενο πάνελ, αλλά θα κάνουμε μία μικρή αλλαγή του προγράμματος, γιατί η καθηγήτρια, η κυρία Malin Bergstrom, ψυχολόγος, ερευνήτρια και καθηγήτρια στο Πανεπιστήμιο Καρολίνσκα της Σουηδίας, για πολύ σοβαρούς προσωπικούς λόγους δεν μπόρεσε να έρθει στην Ελλάδα, αλλά θα μας μιλήσει μέσω Skype. Και αυτή τη στιγμή βρισκόμαστε ήδη σε επαφή μαζί της για να μας παρουσιάσει την εισήγησή της και τα PowerPoint που είχε ετοιμάσει. Ο περιορισμό της επικοινωνίας, πώς η παραβίαση δικαστικών αποφάσεων επικοινωνίας επηρεάζει τα παιδιά και τη δυναμική στις οικογένειες. Είναι ένα πάρα πολύ σοβαρό ζήτημα, απασχολεί πάρα πολύ κόσμο, δυστυχώς, και θεωρώ ότι η παρέμβασή της θα είναι πραγματικά πολύ σημαντική.
I'm sorry that I'm not with you today, but here in Sweden, where we have snow and it's cold. My name is Malin Bergstrom. I am from Karolinska Institute and Stockholm University, and I am a researcher and a child psychologist. And today I just want to make a quick note on family relations and their importance for children. Now you can change, Janis. Okay, so we conduct our research in Sweden, and Sweden and the Nordic countries are quite special because it's easy to make research on children who share their time equally between their father's house and their mother's house after a parental separation. Because this is very common in Sweden, more common than in any other country, but also common in the other Nordic countries such as Denmark or Norway. And this is because we have since the 1970s, as you may know, have gender neutral policies for family politics. In 1974, for example, we had a gender neutral parental leave during the child's first year. So fathers have by tradition been involved in the care of also very young children in Sweden. And we can take the next slide, please, Janis. We have interviewed Swedish parents with really young children who live half the time with the father and half with the mother. And one of the fathers said that it was an ideology from the start that both parents should be equally important. So it seems like the family policies have really rendered these attitudes among parents. And we can take the next slide, please. Where a mother of a 2-year-old says, "One cannot make a lifelong commitment to always be neighbors, but we kind of have the ambition to at least live nearby, especially when he's older." So the view that shared parenting after a separation is important for children has implications for the family life of young children. So that, for example, these parents need to always move together to live close. And if we go to the next slide, please. I just wanted to show you, we work in a project called Elvis, where we focus all our studies on children in shared parenting, or as we sometimes call it, joint physical custody. And by that we mean that children live approximately 50% with the mother and 50% with the father. And the aim of our project is to study parents' experiences of joint physical custody or shared parenting, as well as the children's health, well-being, social situation, and living conditions. And we have done that with school-aged kids and also with younger children from 2 years of age. And if we go to the next slide. We have found in all our studies, we have found that children who share their time between their parents' homes, they have in all our studies and in lots of studies from other research groups, better health and well-being than children who live only with one parent after a divorce or who lives mostly with one parent. So that is quite interesting. And if we go to the next slide. Okay. We started out with making total population studies where all children in Sweden who were in grade 6 and grade 9, that means that they were 12 and 15 years of age. All children who went to school on a particular day participated in this study. So I think we had more than 200,000 children, and in our studies I think more than 170,000 had all the data that we needed. And if we go to the next slide, I will just quickly show you the pattern that we have seen in all our studies. And I think this one looks at stress or psychosomatic symptoms in children. That means if they have problems sleeping, if they have a low mood, if they feel worry, if they have headaches or stomach aches or so. So I think that is a very good outcome to study children who move every second week between two homes. And what you see here is that the lowest symptoms are with children whose parents still live together. Children who are in shared parenting and share their time between the parents' homes, they have slightly more symptoms, while children who live mostly or only with one parent have more symptoms, and a lot more symptoms than those with parents who live together. And this pattern of symptoms in children we have seen regardless of outcomes. So if we go to the next slide, I will show you bars of children's well-being or problems, low well-being. And as you see, it's the same patterns where children in single care arrangements have nearly double as much problems with their well-being as children who live with both mother and father and move between their homes. And the next slide. The next slide is the odds ratios for mental health problems between children who live in different living arrangements. And as you see that compared to children who live with both parents or who move between the parents' homes, there is a 30% increased risk for children who only live with one parent. And that is almost always with the mother. And on the next slide, I will just briefly show you the sample sizes of studies that we have conducted on young children. The first one was Nordic 2 to 9-year-olds. It was slightly under 3,000 children. In the next study, we included 3,500 3 to 5-year-olds. And now we have a manuscript with over 13,000 Swedish 3-year-olds. And even if we look at really young children like this, we still see the same pattern, that those who share their time between the parents' homes, they have a higher well-being and a lower symptom score than those who only live with one parent. And if we look at the next slide, this is a study of family relations for children who live in different arrangements. These children were between 10 and 17 years of age. And the bar to the left are how children get on with their mothers. And the blue bar is children who live in nuclear families. The green bar is children who share their time and move between the homes. And the orange bar is children who live only with one parent, most often the mother. And you see that children who live only with one parent, they get on less well with their mothers. They get on less well with their fathers, because most of them don't live with him or just see him for weekends. And they also are less often have a friend in class. So they tend to have more relationship problems in all aspects. And if we go to the next slide, because we can't say in these studies that these are causal relationships. They may be due to different type of families, but we also know that from other studies that it is very difficult for women in general to be a single mom. This is hard work, it may be financial hardship, and it's difficult both to support a family financially and be able to emotionally support their children. We also know that the health risks are high for fathers who don't live with their children. This is a very vulnerable situation for a man to be in. And maybe if we go to the next slide, most importantly, it is also difficult for children, because not living with a parent means that even if the relationship with him wasn't perfect or satisfying, children still tend to miss their parent, maybe worry about him, and may ask themselves if they weren't worthy of being in contact. So this is difficult for children. And if we go to the next slide, we also know that it affects children how the relationship between the parents is. That will also affect children. So if parents, like on this picture, for example, have a common Christmas celebration and discuss and have a dialogue regarding the children, this will be a safer situation for children than if they live in two separate worlds that are not in contact with each other. And if we take the next slide, I will just remind you of this concept that we call co-parenting, that has been shown to be particularly important for children. And these are a few aspects of the parent relationship, which is if they support or undermine each other's parenting, if they can match the parental roles and have a common view on how to upbring their children. Also, how they can handle the distribution of household tasks and responsibility for the children. If they have confidence in each other, and that is not in general, but particularly as parents. Do I trust the other parent as a parent to take good care of our children? And also, it of course affects children how parents handle their conflicts. We can take the next slide, please. And it has been there is an ongoing big discussion regarding if there is a conflict between the parents, is that something that should stop us from allowing parents to have joint physical custody or shared parenting arrangements. And if we go back 30 years in research, we see that it was established at that time that family conflict would hurt children, would affect them negatively. And I think still that we have quite a few studies about parental conflict and how children should live after a divorce. But what we see in the more recent studies is how important it is to have both parents close in the everyday lives for children. And we think that the positive results of joint physical custody or shared parenting are explained by the fact that children can keep both parents in their everyday life. And if we look at the next and the final slide, I just made a short table from a study from 2016 comparing children. The left row is nuclear families and the right is for children with separated parents. And children with separated parents more often report that their parents fight every day. But they less often report that they feel bad because of these fights. Because when parents have moved apart, children are less affected by the conflicts. And we have seen that in our studies as well. And then something I thought was interesting, because it's more common for children with parents who do not live together, that they take side with both their father or even more often with their mother in the fights between the parents. And we know that this side taking is what may be difficult for children, because they will not be able to have their own opinions, but will be affected by the parents in something that is not their conflict to handle. So if we go to my last slide, I would just like to say that I think maybe the most important message that we can send to parents who do not live together is that you are always a family. As soon as you have children together, you will always, as long as you have that child, you will always remain a family. And you can never forget that fact, because as soon as you do, your children will be affected. So thank you for the opportunity to be with you on such a distance. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this very interesting presentation. On behalf of the moderator of the group, of the panel, and the audience, we thank you for being with us.
Και έτσι η καθηγήτρια η κυρία Malin Bergstrom μας παρουσίασε αυτή την πολύ ενδιαφέρουσα μελέτη από τη Σουηδία και γενικότερα από τις χώρες του Βορρά, με μεγάλο αριθμό προσώπων που έλαβαν μέρος στην έρευνα και που αναδεικνύει πόσο σημαντική είναι η καθημερινή επαφή των παιδιών και με τους δύο γονείς. Επίσης αναδεικνύει ότι οι χώρες αυτές έχουν προχωρήσει και εφαρμόζουν και μελετούν και αξιολογούν συνεχώς όλα αυτά τα οποία εμείς βλέπουμε ακόμη σαν αρκετά μακρινά σενάρια.